Another 15-game slate here for Independence Day Eve. That's right. Which games out of this big slate, though, could we be making money on? That's what you're here to find out. First pitch, WagerTalk TV, live on the WagerTalk TV YouTube channel. Appreciate you making us a part of your morning. Getting you ready to go for WagerTalk today. We're going to talk Rays, Royals, Astros, Blue Jays, the Giants game, and the Seattle game. We got some first five wagers. We'll talk the Yerfies. We'll talk the Nerfies. Talk some team totals as well. And you can hop below in the comments, in the chat, and let us know what you'd like us to hit upon. And make sure while you're down there, hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed. Dan Alexander here, and joining me, I got the Morning Wager crew here in the morning. Our new time slot on First Pitch. Bryan Power, Mark Zinno, locked and loaded and ready to rock here today. Gentlemen, I say we get right into it. We have a lot of business to take care of. And those who watched last Wednesday will know what we're talking about. But we'll start with the baseball games at least. Rays and Royals. BP, you got this one slated in. We got Waka Waka on the mound tonight for Kansas City. We have seen some under money actually push this game off the key number of 9, looking like on my screen pretty much painted across at 8.5. But for you, under money or not, you're not worried about Kansas City's run production in this one, correct?
Well, it is Kansas City's run production that I'm concerned about. It's Waka Waka that I'm not concerned about. This is an interesting series to me. In one quarter, you got the Rays, Dan. They got off to such an underwhelming start. Their run differential for the season sitting at minus 52, which is the same as the 39 and 46 Blue Jays, for the sake of comparison. Blue Jays, I'll be talking about them later on in the show. In fact, there's only 5 teams in all of baseball currently with a worse year-to-date run differential than the Rays. Not exactly encouraging for a team that I personally expected to go over its preseason win total of 84. Then you got the Royals. They got off to a great start this season. One of the real surprise teams in April and May. Their run differential still sits at plus 51. Only 6 teams in all of baseball have outscored their opponents by a greater margin in 2024. So, Dan, usually when you talk about those kind of numbers, this is where I say, let's buy low on KC. And we're going to kind of do that in a unique way. But it does sort of feel like these right now are teams like a couple ships going in opposite direction, right? Tampa Bay's won 9 of 12. They can make it 5 straight series wins after they beat the Royals 5-1 yesterday, a game where there was a 2.5-hour rain delay. The Royals have dropped 14 of 22 overall. Meanwhile, I don't trust their staff, either the starters, the bullpen. There's a ton of regression signs. But what I do trust is this KC offense at home. Yes, I know I said they just scored only 1 run last night, but for the season, the Royals have the top home batting average in all of baseball. Top 5 in the rest of the slash line at home as well. No lineup strikes out less at home. They are also 3rd in WOBA at home. Compare all that on the road, Royals are bottom 5 in most offensive metrics. Seeing as this series is being contested at Kauffman Stadium, I'm going to call for the Royals to put some runs on the board tonight, Dan. They're facing Ryan Pepio, who has a 5.14 ERA his last 7 starts. Ray's bullpen's still bad as well. They've given up the 2nd most home runs, 5th most runs in all of baseball of any pen. So let's go KC over its team total of 3.5 tonight. You do have to lay some juice, minus 140. But this is one of 6 teams averaging 5 runs per game at home. You want to do an alt line of 4.5 at plus 125? Get on with your bad self. But I'll take over 3.5. Thank you very much for the home team.
Runs coming in bunches for the Kansas City Royals, says our man Bryan Power to kick off the show. Shout out to the folks joining us live here in the chat. G. Hurt, Have Cash, Drew Schultz as well. Nick with a bunch of eyes wants us to talk the Yankees game. We will talk that, whether it's Rodon or Stroman. It is Rodon today, and we'll be talking about that one. And also over in the YouTube Shorts feed, Jay Pacino, Devin Chapman, Jay saying, what's up, boys? It's a beautiful day to rob the books. Hopefully getting some cash there. And if you're joining us on socials, whether it be TikTok, whether it be X, whether it be Instagram, we appreciate you doing so there as well. You can hop in the comments and we'll hit upon that we're looking at all of the avenues to get you the info you know and you love. Zinno, let's talk this San Francisco game. Talk about runs coming in bunches. Well, that's what happened for San Francisco last night. I think 3 home runs came across for them against Atlanta. You think maybe that run production is going to continue, or is Chris Sale being on the bump and the price reflects it for Atlanta? Is that exactly what they need to maybe throw some cold water on this San Francisco Giants offense that's been a little bit humming as of late? What do you think?
I mean, look, Sale has been their most consistent and reliable starter all year long, right? There's 10-3, 2.79 ERA, sub-1 WHIP, 118 Ks in just 93 2/3 innings. So he's certainly done an amazing job at sort of being the anchor of this rotation. And again, this is still not a Giants offense that I put a lot of faith in, period. And so when I look at this matchup here, I feel confident that whatever they did last night against Ronaldo Lopez, they won't repeat against Chris Sale because, well, Sale's been able to dominate for a better part of this season. And again, this is a Giants team that, other than the long ball, doesn't necessarily produce a lot of runs. So give the advantage to Sale there. But again, we're pricing the Braves incorrectly. Why? Because they can't score. Like, you just can't play the Braves as a 2-1 favorite. Like, part of me wanted to take the Giants plus 1.5 here, but Jordan Hicks feels like a wild card because I got to be honest, I had to do some research on Jordan Hicks, not knowing who the hell he was. The Giants, seem to go a bullpen game every other game. And, you're looking at a Jordan Hicks that's got 33 walks in 85 innings, guys. That's bad. That's not a good way to go about trying to win a baseball game. So I was a little bit hesitant to sort of back the Giants here. But even if the Braves do get to Hicks, when was the last time the Braves scored 5 runs on a regular basis inside the first 5 innings? Yep. Just doesn't happen often. So I know we're at a lower number here at 4 and not 4.5 ideally, but I'm willing to live with a tie if that's what happens. I just don't think either one of these teams are going to score all that much here to start this game. Sale doing most of the heavy lifting. Braves might scratch a run or two across here, but unless something out of the ordinary happens where Sale gets knocked around for 3 runs, I'm comfortable with playing the first 5 under in this spot.
First 5 under for my man, Mark Zinno. And guys, we're going to talk this Yankees game coming up here in just a few. But if folks joined us a week ago today, we were introduced to a true legend. Mark Zinno's true biggest fan ever. And Patty Johnson, if you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. But Zinno, the problem is Patty Johnson, she kind of like, she threw like a hex on you. Maybe it's because you won't show up on a date. I don't know what the thing is, but apparently Patty said she feels bad enough. She knows that you've been a little bit frustrated with her. I don't know if she got it commissioned. I don't know if she's a part of a band, but we have a treat for you here and for the viewers. Joe, if we could, this was shared to us by Patty Johnson.
Oh my God, I just wanted to send a shout out to my favorite handicapper at WagerTalk, Mark Zinno. I've got your big ticket waiting for later, so call me. Let's make a sloppy parlay together.
I love a sloppy parlay. Yeah. Chances high or low.
Yeah.
Feeling good is fun. Marks and no precious tickets. Always got my back.
Always got her back.
Oh my.
In the highs and wicked. Always never lack.
Look at that.
Sloppy parlay.
Oh. Man.
Are we getting a second verse?
Yeah. That's pretty good stuff.
Oh my God.
It's never
What
late.
a funky beat.
Sloppy parlay. Look at that. If that just doesn't put you on a heater, go ahead. I mean, she. I don't know if she's in the band. I don't know if she's the lead singer. I don't know if she had that commissioned. Again, all I know is she loves her some Mark Zinno. That's our girl, Patty Johnson.
Listen, and we swung big for Patty last week. We absolutely did. And look, by all accounts, and people will tell you, we were on the right side from the handicap standpoint. Just got a really unfortunate bad result where that first 5 under didn't hit. But Patty is in the rotation here. So we will absolutely have another Patty Johnson 5% nuke coming up here pretty soon. I mean, if she makes an appearance on the show, I feel like I have to put up a 5% Patty Johnson nuke coming up. So, we'll and BP and I will collaborate on this thing. We'll do it together.
How about that?
You now have a
by the way?
theme song. Like,
I
how
know,
about that? Like that's another level of commitment to Wager Talk fan.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, look, I'm the only guy at Wager Talk who has a fan, and the only guy at Wager Talk who has a fan club and a song. So you can take that and stick that in your record in your top 3, top 7, top 30 day leaderboard. Okay, number 1 is fan support. Mark Zinno, last 30 days. That's right.
Very fair. That's undefeated. Never lost. Never lost. Yeah, there it is, man. That hits. Just hits different, baby.
Yeah.
In any weather.
In any weather.
Bring us together, baby. All right, folks. The chat is just losing their mind, even more than Brian Power did. We got Zinno is pimping from Titan CT. Tyler telling me, hey, you owe us a lacrosse winner for taking the time to do that, Dan. We always have the time for Patty Johnson. Come on here, folks.
We do. Yes.
But we'll swing it on back here to the diamond before Zinno has to go diamond shopping for his new leading lady in his life. But we'll talk Cincinnati and the New York Yankees. And Zinno, we'll throw it right back your way if you can collect yourself. If you can let the flushness come away from the face here, because the question really is, Cincinnati got it done last night. Runs galore. You end up with a 9-run game. But now you're looking at Stroman on the mound. And the question from the chat right out of the gate was, this is the quintessential Yankees bounce back spot. I feel like whenever we have Zinno on here, some way, somehow, we're talking about a Yankees bounce back spot. Is that how you see it? Because, it's certainly priced that way, nearing, over 180 if you want to back Rodon, and it's Abbott who's going to be opposing them. So Yankees versus lefties, that any worry for you? How are you looking to bet this one, Zinno?
I mean, I was at Yankee Stadium last night for the game. I took my kids. And there's a couple of things here. If you would like to back a guy that is a nearly 2-1 favorite who's given up at least 5 earned runs in each of his last 3 starts, knock yourself out. I'm not doing it. That's number 1. I think the wheels have come off the wagon for Rodon here, and so he's not getting my money as far as a starter is concerned. When you look at the Yankees offense last night against Graham Ashcraft, Dan, they had 2 hits through 5 innings, and one of those was a bunt.
Yep.
The other one was an Aaron Judge base hit. So they didn't get to the starter. They got to the bullpen. And that's ultimately what happened, or how they got back in that game. I mean, look, BP and I talked about this game on the morning wager. This was our show best bet. We took the Reds plus a half run in the first 5 here, just because, guess what? If Rodon is A+ Rodon, the Yankees are winning. They'll cover the run line. They'll go over their team total. Everything will fall into place, right? It's all correlated. But if you get anything less than A+ Rodon, if you get average Rodon here, there's no reason to believe that the Reds won't have a lead or be tied after 5 innings. And advantage bullpen to the Yankees. So you want to try to keep them out of this whole thing, because that's how they got back in it last night, was the fact that they got to the Reds bullpen, the Yankees bullpen shut the door down. So I like the Reds here first 5. Take the half run. I think it's around even money, BP, right? What we discussed this morning. And I hope that Andrew Abbott is good enough to not get shelled. I mean, that's the only other way Rodon gets out of this, is if the Yankees come out and score 4 or 5 runs in the first, 5 innings, and then the game takes on a whole different form regardless. So, which is, again, always a possibility, right? Like, I can't sit here and say, I don't think it's likely the Yankees. Of course they could. It's the Yankees. All you got to do is walk one batter, have Soto get a base hit, and Judge hit a 3-run bomb, and all of a sudden, the Reds are in a hole they're not going to get out of. I mean, it is that simple. But beyond that, once you get past like 4 and 5 in this lineup, it gets pretty weak. It falls off pretty quick for the Yankees right now with all the injuries that they got. So Reds first 5 run line here plus a half.
And BP, you mentioned that obviously you guys talked about that on the morning wager, so you're in lockstep on this one. Cy35 over on the YouTube Shorts feed is saying, no way the Yankees are losing back to back. I maybe want to play them on the run line. The thing for me is, is it's like maybe we're just saying that because it is the Yankees. I mean, in just recently they had a stretch where they lost 4 in a row. Before that, they had a stretch they lost 3 in a row. They lost back-to-back games in Boston. So formulaically, just saying this Yankees team doesn't lose back-to-back, that might have been true at the beginning of the season, but recent form that really hasn't been the case.
Yeah, now I concur with Mr. Popularity over there that the Yankees have the bullpen edge. No doubt about it, okay? But here, I'll make a couple cases why you should not lay 1.5 with the Yankees. Number one, Dan, I make this point, I swear, on at least one game every week, because someone asked me, I hate laying 1.5 at home. I just hate it. It's just not something I do. And furthermore, let's take a look at the Reds side of the equation. I could make a pretty strong case to actually take the Reds plus 1.5 for the game, despite that bullpen edge for the Yankees. The Reds won by 1 run last night. They actually came into that game with the fewest number of 1-run wins in all of baseball. But check this out. They're 40-45 on the season now, okay? 40 wins. They also have 15 one-run losses, which is among the most in all baseball. So if you take the 40 wins, the 15 one-run losses, all of a sudden, that's, 55, that's 55 positive results with plus 1.5, right? So I actually think I would not lay the 1.5 with the Yankees at all here. Sorry, guys. I think the Reds, if you're looking full game run line, would actually be the option. But like Mark said, Reds first 5 was our best bet this morning.
So it sounds like us three are at odds with pretty much every chat that is out there. Everyone back in the Yankees here. We got Winning Matters over on TikTok. Love the Yankees bounce back today. Yankees have to show me they're back before I bet on them, said Jonathan. That's how I kind of feel on that one. So go ahead.
Bounce back spots, like the old saying in baseball is, momentum is only as good as the next day's starting pitcher, right? Like the bounce back spot is only as good as the pitchers on the mound, and Rodon is not good. Again, does he have the ability to go out there and go 6 innings of 4-hit baseball? No, yeah, he does. We've seen him do it, but I've only seen him do it, against spotty lineups, against bad teams, and it hasn't. The last 3 starts have been god awful, and the same thing with Heel we saw last night. It's like the wheels have come off the wagons on all these guys the first 2 months of the season who pitched way over their heads. That's ultimately what it boils down to. And let's go down the run. Like, since he gave up 7 runs against the Orioles, right? He pitched well against Houston in the beginning of May when they weren't hitting. Then it was the Twins, the White Sox, the Padres on the road, the Angels, the Twins again, and the Royals on the road who don't hit. That was his run of 6 consecutive starts giving up 2 runs or less. Go back to the first month of the season. Shut out the A's, right? 2 runs against the Marlins, 2 runs against the D-backs. These were not good hitting teams, and they're not good hitting teams. So, I just don't have a ton of faith in Rodon. You guys can put your money there, and I'm not telling you you're going to be wrong. I'm just not doing it. Rodon is not getting my money. I'd rather give it to Patty.
Well, that's the foregone conclusion. That's the absolute lock. Cy35, I appreciate the insight, guys. We appreciate you making time to comment. Over on TikTok, they're cooking up parlays, boys. We got Zaka, Guardians 1.5, Brewers money line, Twins money line, Yankees money line, Rays money line. 5-game parlay. Best of luck, Zaka. Best of luck on that one. I think maybe even the back end of that. Yeah, that's Zinno. That's a sloppy parlay. If we're talking,
that's real sloppy. Yeah,
that one gets real sloppy. Zaka asking us. Yeah, see there. You know what I mean? Hit it. Love it. Each and every weather. Speaking of which, got any worries on the weather report here? Each and any weather we cash in. Looks like St. Louis, Pittsburgh, maybe some potential there for some rainouts. We talked about the Kansas City Royals. That one looks like it'll be fine. So weather looks pretty good. So each and every weather, Zinno potentially cash in for there. Tyler says, man, TikTok got a lot to learn. Hey, that's why we're over there on TikTok. We appreciate them. Best bets are coming up here. So if you want some parlay pieces, we'll be talking Astros and Blue Jays and the Seattle game as well. We had some folks here asking about the Baltimore and Seattle game. So we'll touch upon that coming up here in Best Bets. Somebody pointed out, I think it was my man Jay Pacino. He said, hey, Wheeler on the bump, Imanaga on the bump, Phillies, Chicago Cubs. I mean, with those two pitchers, that's the nerfy candidate of the day. The only problem is, BP, it doesn't matter, each and any weather, Mark Zinno cashing his sloppy parlays, each and any weather, this Philadelphia Phillies lineup, no matter who the hell is in, continues to make hits, continues to be able to back up. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. They get a new pitcher, and he picks up his first win yesterday. The clubhouse stays buzzing. We talk all the time about the other shoe dropping for this Philadelphia Phillies team, and it just has not happened. I'm kind of with Jay, though. A nerfy here with these two pitchers on the mound. What are you thinking about the Cubs and Philadelphia going in Chicago game 2 today?
Yeah, I told Zinno this yesterday morning. The line, it was a bad line yesterday. The Cubs should not have been favored. I get the absences from the Phillies lineup, but the Cubs didn't have someone like Imanaga on the mound to justify that price. They just didn't. Now, you look at Imanaga, it's really interesting. This is something Mark and I have been talking about on the morning wager, that, we faded him a couple starts ago against the Mets. It was the first time he had faced the same team a second time, and he got shelled. Remember, he just got absolutely crushed. We were on the Mets team total that day. That cashed easily, but that's the only team who's seen him twice. This is the first time the Phillies are seeing him. Yep. So I'm not in as big a rush to back the Phillies today as I was yesterday. The nerfy, with two pitchers of this caliber, I would endorse that. You look at Imanaga, with the exception of that one horrific start against the Mets, which again was the second time the Mets got to see him this season. There's only been one other bad start for Imanaga all year, and that was on the road against Milwaukee. So, this is a guy who's given up, 2 runs or less, 5, 9, 12 times this year. So the idea that he'd give up a run in the first inning, probably, I don't think he's going to. And then Wheeler's Wheeler. So, I would endorse the nerfy in this one, but not as big a rush to endorse the Phillies as I was yesterday at the underdog price.
Yeah, and Zinno, Papa102 over on TikTok pointing out that the home versus road splits aren't worth sneezing at or aren't to be overlooked, rather, in the case of Zach Wheeler. I mean, the ERA is triple when he gets away from Citizens Bank Park. So, and also some folks pointing out, too, that maybe Imanaga with the hot start kind of getting priced still like he's in that hot start. So any thoughts on those home versus road splits, or any way that you potentially see this game shaking out? Because I'm kind of with BP as far as it's gone. I love my Phillies. I'm a homer through and through, but they just haven't. I know that they keep winning games, but it just hasn't been pre-flop. I haven't really wanted to back this team, especially at the prices that they end up coming. I mean, this one isn't awful, but how do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Phillies at this price overall. And I hate the number, and I don't really love strikeout props, but the Cubs are a top 10 team on this season in strikeout rate. They're top 5 at home this year in strikeout rate. I would assume there is some correlation between Wheeler's K-prop and the Phillies' ability to win this game here, more than anything. So I know the numbers aren't there, but and you're paying a heavy number for the juice, at least on one book that I'm looking at here, for the over 6.5. But maybe there's an alternate K prop you can look at 5.5 out there that might be worth giving a look. I mean, knowing how bad the Cubs are when it comes to strikeout rate against a guy like Wheeler, if you believe in the Phillies and their ability to win this game, Wheeler's going to have to go deep into it, right? Like he can't get banged around early. So I try to just look for other correlating plays if I have some, issues. I mean, could it be a case where Imanaga's great and it's a 4-3 game and the Phillies don't score a ton? Yeah, but if Wheeler can go 5 or 6 innings, I think he can get to 7 Ks. I mean, that's part of it. So just look for different outs when it comes to the way to play this thing. If you don't want to go up against Imanaga, we could get a pitcher's duel here by massive proportions, as you see the total sitting at 7.5. So depending on what the price is and what you're paying, I could look to a K prop here for Wheeler.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, if you think he's going deep, I mean, the price isn't all that great, but the total outs recorded
Yeah.
as well is a simple way of
Another
saying
one.
how long is this guy going to be going into the game. I would feel a little bit better about maybe isoing in on those props if we were, of course, getting Wheeler at home. But I think it's still a worthy look there. Let's just touch upon real quick because Johnington points out we talked to Nerfy in that one. All-time pitcher name matchup. Call me by your name, Kiter Montero in Detroit Tigers versus David. Don't call me Uncle Festa for the Minnesota Twins. I mean, we have to touch upon that one. I mean, namesake alone, Johnington saying Nerfy in this one. I didn't have anything that I loved. I mean, you're looking at a total that's sitting at that key number right around 9. We've seen action kind of going both ways. I don't want to lay this price with Minnesota. So this one was kind of a pass. Sure, you could get me down with the Nerfy and then turn this game off. Either of you guys have thoughts on this one? I'll start with you, Zinno.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to get a discounted price simply because of the no-name starters, right? Like if you'd like to take the under, you're going to get it or first 5 under. I'm sorry, the first inning Nerfy, as I learned to speak here. If you take the Nerfy, you're going to get a discounted price because nobody knows who these guys are, right? So it's going to be around your standard minus 110. I'm seeing minus 108 over on one book over here. So I think it's worth a look in that sense. The only thing that's a little bit alarming here is that the total's sitting at 9. Like it opened at 9, It's sitting at 9. These are two offenses that can't hit, which is why, again, the Nerfy always is a good matchup between these two teams because they don't hit. So are odds makers saying that both these guys could get lit up? And, if the total's sitting at 9, like I would feel more, I don't know, it's weird. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I feel like if it was at 8.5, I'd be a lot more comfortable. It was a standard 8.5. Why this thing opened at 9 and every book I'm seeing across the board is at 9 is a little bit alarming for me thinking that runs are going to be scored. And if that's going to be the case, scoring runs early would be a key to getting over 9.
Yeah, and we are seeing the under getting juiced. It's now looking, minus 120 in some spots, including some notable offshores. So maybe later tonight you end up seeing that 8.5, but I'm with you. That 9 just kind of makes me scratch my head for two offenses like this. What about you, BP? You get the final words on this game. You agree with Zinno? Also, the pricing kind of makes me scratch my head. Are you also kind of twisted into a pretzel by that?
Well, yeah, you said something, Dan, when you introduced the game that I agree completely with, and that's Minnesota, I think, is the right side here, but I don't really want to back them at this price. Festa was not particularly impressive in his debut, and it's interesting when you talk about the total. So normally what I would do here, it's like, okay, I don't like this price on Minnesota, so let's get creative and find a way to fade Detroit. And how do you fade Detroit? Well, you play them under their team total. This is a pretty pathetic offense, but again, Festa's a question mark. And then, on the other side, you take a look at Montero. He has not been good either. That's the key with this total. It's, yes, normally you see these two teams. I mean, you just see Detroit, you naturally lean to the under, but you've got two sort of unknown commodities starting the game. Montero, I mean, what is it? He's got an ERA over 9 in the 2 times he's started. So, or the 2 times he's appeared, pardon me, it's just 1 start. So no Lewis for Minnesota either is kind of something that that potential, you have to check their lineup here, is something that kind of has me a little leery to back and over. So I don't know. I was kind of, like you said, talking myself into a pretzel, Dan, on this matchup. It just wound up being a pass for me, even though I do think Minnesota's the right side, but the price is not right for me at all here at minus 170.
Yeah, I just, again, the price just ends up keeping me off. Sure, it might end up being the right side, but when you're betting the MLB, you really don't want to be ending up laying big favorite prices with regularity when you're trying to build your bankroll a little bit. So sure, it might end up being the side. Hey, maybe, folks were looking for the parlay pieces there. That could be a worthy one, but this price again, and that total just has a big question mark on this game. I'm not quite seeing it the same way that odds makers are. So for that reason, I crossed it off my board. We got best bets coming up here. So if you want some of those parlay pieces or straight bets, we got some nice prices coming your way. Astros, Blue Jays, and we will talk the Seattle Mariners against the Baltimore Orioles. Let us know if you like the Nerfy in that one. But whenever I see someone, I talked about an all-time name matchup, BP and Zinno. We got a question over on TikTok from someone who grabbed the username Poopy. Yeah, Poopy is wants to know about Eric Fetty strikeouts. I mean, that you got to get to TikTok early if you want to get that username. No numbers behind it, no nothing, just Poopy. Ready to rock here. He's looking towards Eric Fetty over the K's. The price isn't awful. It's sitting at 4.5. He's gone under it 2 times in his last 5 starts, but we're looking at 7 Ks, 6 Ks, 5 Ks in the games that he went over it. And one of those games was against the LA Dodgers. He's playing the Guardians today, who, when you talk about the Guardians, sure, it's the wins, it's this, that, and the other thing, but it's always the bullpen that we're talking about. So taking that out of the equation, just looking towards Eric Fetty, our man Adam Trigger likes talking some Fetty wop, and so do you, Zinno. So 1738, is he going over this number? What do you think?
I mean, I looked at this game, and I feel like Fetty is actually in a good fade position here. As much as Gavin Williams is a huge question mark, hasn't pitched since last year. I mean, was good. Last year wasn't great. Didn't face the White Sox either last year in any of his appearances. So there was some question marks here. But, Fetty has been a different pitcher on the road. We've talked about that. He's been good, but he's not the same pitcher that he's been at home, even though he got rocked in his last home start when he faced the Dodgers. All that said, I'd fade Fetty Wap in this spot. I'd look to a Guardians team total. I'd take the Guardians, first 5 run line. I would lay the 1.5 with Cleveland. This feels like a spot where they come out and just spank the White Sox. Again, this is a White Sox team that's only won 8 road games all year long. So if you're going to bet against the White Sox on the road, you may as well be willing to tolerate the juice on the fact that they might not win their 9th game on the road this year. So, because in reality, you can just come back the next day and say, hey, they're not going to win back-to-back games on the road. I know that's narrative-based stuff that I always rail against. Yeah. But the numbers here at 8-34 on the road have told me they're not likely to win back-to-back games. So manage your money, manage your bankroll effectively, but I wouldn't even hate the Guardians' money line just based off of the opponent and where they are.
Saying, hey, what's up, hello, and not loving the Eric Fetty Wap vibe there. And that must be an alt line because I'm seeing 3.5, and the over for Fetty is juiced at -185. So that's definitely not a bettable number as that's sitting because BP, Tyler also points out in the chat, part of the reason why the Guardians have just been quietly one of the best teams in baseball over the last month and a half or even over that is simply because the fact that they don't strike out all that much. You can get them out in different ways. You can slow down those bats, but it's typically not just them swinging for the fences. So that would maybe give me concern, them in the bounce back spot. I love the username Poopy. I'm not sure if I love the bet. Any thoughts in White Sox and Guardians here before we move on here to best bets, BP?
Yeah, when you introduced the comment from the listener about the strikeouts, that was my initial reaction, Dan, that the Guardians, even going back to when they were under Francona, have always been a disciplined team at the plate. They don't strike out much. Now, what's interesting here, and this needs to be talked about, is the White Sox have kind of been a bogey team for the Guardians this season. I know the Guardians won last night, but season series is 4-4 between these teams. The White Sox have actually played .500 against the Guardians this year, which you would not think. The Guardians have struggled against Fetty previously, just hitting 195 against him with 41 at-bats. You mentioned, though, that bullpen for the Guardians. That's always a reason to like them. The one interesting thing, too, is when you look at FanGraphs, Dan, they have this Guardians offense regressing mightily the rest of the way. They are not believers if you look at the projection systems in this Guardians lineup. So I don't know. Maybe we're going to probably have a lower scoring game than last night. I mean, the White Sox, we know about their offense. It is, what's the word? Ass, I believe is what they say here on the program. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a lower scoring game. And and there's always that thing too, the Guardians are a big favorite. Let's just assume they take care of business. It is, you shouldn't assume necessarily, but that could be 3 fewer outs at the end of the game, which I always like to point out that we may need. So that always lends itself to an under as well.
That's Bryan Power. We got Mark Zinno with us as well. It's time for Best Bets here. If you're joining us on TikTok and you just found us, make sure you hit us with the follow. Same thing on X and Instagram. If we got shared there into your timeline, make sure you follow us because we got info coming your way. We got single game videos as well. And less than 30 minutes away, we're going live with WagerTalk today, covering a litany of sports. If soccer is your thing, Carmine Bianco is going to be joining them, talking some Euros and Copa America. Also, if soccer is your thing, you can hop on board with Bryan Power. We got a great special going right now. It's available at all of our handicappers' pages. WagerTalk.com. Get 7 days of all access, just $7 a day. So while you're barbecuing, we got a full MLB slate, Copa America rolling on, the Euros as well. So you can get these plays, WNBA, if that's your thing. Again, 7 days of all access, just $7 a day. And you can get either of these guys over at WagerTalk.com. BP, best bet time. I'll swing right back to you. Zinno's going to talk Seattle and the O's for his, but you're eyeing a game that's came up quite a few times across all of our platforms. Folks want to know how they're betting the Astros and the Blue Jays. A lot of folks saying at this price, how do you not back the Stros? Let folks know what you have over at your page and let us know how we're betting this game.
Yeah, Dan, you mentioned soccer. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up 30-10 run on the pitch. Ooh. We did it again yesterday. 7th straight winner in the Euro Cup with the over on Austria and Turkey. So my heart was not in my mouth on that incredible save at the death there that allowed Turkey to advance because I already had a winner. There were already 3 goals. So we've got a Copa America play up already for tomorrow. I've got 2 MLB plays up for tonight at my page. WT.buzz/BP. You can get them for $29. 21, 10, and 1 all sports, Dan, the last 13 days. So seeing it well overall. Let's talk about Houston and Toronto. That's what the people want to hear about. I think Toronto continues to get too much respect from odds makers. I know they won last night 7-6, but that's only because they were able to get out to a 7-0 lead against Spencer Arrighetti. Call me crazy. I don't think the Jays are getting out to a 7-0 lead tonight, Dan, because they're facing Blanco. And guess what happened the last time the Jays faced Blanco? They were no hit and lost 10-0 back on April 1st. Will he deliver another no-hitter tonight, Blanco? Probably not, but 3 career games against the Jays. His ERA is 1.15, so he's probably going to pitch well. And remember, 2 starts ago against the Tigers, Blanco didn't allow any hits over 7 innings. So this is a guy in fine form. He's allowed 2 earned runs or less in 11 of his 14 starts overall, 2.34 ERA, 0.968 whip for the season. The Blue Jays offense has been underwhelming, to say the least, all season. 4th fewest runs per game in the American League. There's lots of trade rumors swirling, too, north of the border. Dan, some morale could be low. Sort of like when Joe Ranieri knows I'm coming on first pitch. But despite last night's loss, Houston, they've won 10 of 12, so their morale's not low. They're closing the gap on Seattle in the AL West. They've only lost. You talk about a bounce back. Everyone's like, oh, the Yankees, they've got to bounce back. Well, guys, the Astros have lost back-to-back games only once since the start of June. So they're a good bet to bounce back. And they're facing Yusei Kikuchi, who has not pitched well in the past against the Stros. 1-5, 6.27 ERA and 13 career starts. Show best bet, Dan Alexander, is the Houston Astros.
Yeah, I got an ugly one in this one. I mean, the under is juiced at minus 190, so it might only be worth a little bit of a sprinkle. But to your point, Kikuchi struggled a little bit with control as of late. And when he faces this Astros team, sometimes he tries to pitch around them a little bit too much. I'm going to take, and I know Tyler in the YouTube chat's going to laugh at me for this one because we always have a running joke about walks allowed props. I might look at Kikuchi to get 2 walks in this game. Plus 140 if he's going a little bit deep, trying to pitch around this lineup. Okay. So the best bet for Bryan Power in this one is the Astros at a great price. I'm sprinkling a little bit on Kikuchi walks. Why not have a little bit of fun here heading into Independence Day? Hop below in the comments. Let us know how you're looking to bet this one. I know our man Zaka over on TikTok is looking to parlay something together. That's for damn sure. So Zinno, give him a piece for you and give Patty Johnson a piece as well. Seattle and the O's. What's on your page page over there, Mark Zinno, for a potential sloppy parlay. And how are we looking to bet this game that has a lot of intrigue?
Yeah. So I lied to the folks on the morning wager. I said I was only going to do 2 plays, and guess what? I did 3. I couldn't help myself. So we have 3 plays up on the site here, and one would qualify for a sloppy parlay because heck, it's in the same game, so we could same game sloppy parlay it together, Patty and I. So running at near 60% over the last 2 weeks. So trying to stay hot in baseball. WT.buzz/MZ. Don't forget about that. $49 deal for the next 7 days. Just half off, guys, over at the site as well. WT.buzz/MZ, the place to go. All right, let's turn our attention here to the Pacific Northwest and the Seattle Mariners. And sometimes there are certain bets that I make that nauseate me. And you know how I feel about backing teams that don't have great lineups. But, you know, you look at a bounce back spot. We've used that term so much here on the show today. And it feels like a good bounce back spot for the Mariners, who were shut out last night in a 2-0 win by the Orioles. And when we talk about bounce back, momentum next day as good as this next starting pitcher, well, they get a really good one in Logan Gilbert, who has been fantastic at home, a sub-1 whip. You're talking about a guy with over 100 Ks already and a sub-3 ERA at 2.72. Here's the real rub of this. They're going up against Dean Kramer, who hasn't made a start since the end of May. He's making his first start off the IL. So there's 2 things in play here. One, Kramer is as hittable as they come. This is a guy that has an ERA near 4.5. He doesn't exactly, keep guys off the base pass. He's given up 10 home runs this year already in just 10 starts. So he has a little bit of trouble, 9 starts rather. Has a little bit of trouble keeping the ball in the ballpark. The Orioles don't score for him like they do for other starting pitchers, averaging their kind of playing normal 4.5 runs per game compared to Grayson Rodriguez last night, who gets near 7 runs a game by the Orioles. But the spot here where I want to back the Mariners offense against Dean Kramer, and we're only going to do it in the first 5 here. I know the bullpen situation for both these teams, they're both really good bullpens in a certain sense. They'd cancel each other out. But with a team like Seattle, I kind of say the same thing. If they ain't scoring early, they ain't scoring late. So if they can't get out to an early lead here, I don't trust them to do it down the stretch. Last night, they dropped Julio Rodriguez down to 7th in the lineup. So seeing if they can shake things up here offensively. Hopefully it works a second time here. But I like the Mariners here in the first 5. Short price on the money line here. Keep the tie in our back pocket if we need it. But Seattle in a little bit of a bounce back spot themselves.
Mariners first 5. There it is. There it is. Zinno, it's a good day.
Never late.
He's never been late. Never been late. Seattle first 5. Don't be late betting that one because that price might actually move. It's already a minus 120. So grab that one. Astros money line against the Blue Jays is the best bet for Bryan Power. If you want these guys' true best bets, head on over to WagerTalk.com. Take advantage of that special WT.buzz/BL. Or BP, excuse me, will get you to Bryan Powers' page, and WT.buzz/MZ will get you right to Mark Zinno's page. Grab the all access. It's just $7 a day. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to you watching us over on TikTok. Be a part of getting us over that 5K followers. If you just stumbled upon us, we appreciate all the love you've been giving us and the questions you've been giving us all show long. Especially if you catch that parlay, tell folks to come on back and join us on Friday's edition. That's right, Thursday, Independence Day. We're going to be off here, but you can find us, of course, on social media, and we'll see you over there. But we'll be back locked and loaded live on Friday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific. We go live here for First Pitch each and every day, unless it's Independence Day, of course. Shout out to the folks over on YouTube, on X, on Instagram. Hit us with the follow, like, subscribe. We would appreciate it. That's how we keep growing the channel and bringing you that info that you know and love. Zinno, BP, have yourselves a terrific Independence Day. Have some sloppy parlays. Enjoy your barbecue with Patty Johnson. Don't burn yourself, Zinno. Make sure you stay cool, calm under pressure. We will see you locked and loaded. Yeah, come back with all your fingers. That's definitely important, and Patty would appreciate that as well. Hey yo! All right, boys. We'll see you guys later. Best of luck. Have a great 4th of July. We'll see you on Friday, guys. We'll see you then.